Hi everybody, it is Megan here, the Healing Foods Coach. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you so much for coming back and watching this content. So, today's topic, are seasonings or spices allowed on carnivore? Let's include everything. Seasonings, spices, or sauces, are they allowed on carnivore? Okay, so as you'll see from the image in the background, there is a decided lack of sauces, seasonings, or spices on the belt as far as what I buy on a regular basis. Now, does that mean you cannot have them? No, it does not. Okay, are they technically carnivore? Mayonnaise would be the only one because it's made with eggs. Okay, so it can be, you can have it on a carnivore diet because the main ingredients are from an animal source, of course. As far as other things, whether it's barbecue sauce, whether it's like hot spices, whether it's more just um, flavorful spices like you get with, say, a roasted chicken, these are all things that all of these sources of spices are plants. Okay, so which of course makes sense, but we don't often think about that. We just see these powders or these seeds or whatever in their dried out and ground up form. We forget they're from plants. So the reason I mentioned that is that all plants have some level of oxalates in them. And depending on how much you're putting into your food when you season it, some people, even with the tiniest amount, it can affect their gut. It can affect if they say suffer with IBS or SIBO, or they just have perhaps something like Crohn's disease or inflammatory bowel disease. Any sort of spice or seasoning other than perhaps salt can trigger a response. Okay, so are seasoning, spices, and sauces allowed on carnivore? Of course they are. You can put on whatever you feel like when it comes to what you're eating. My only recommendation, my only suggestion to you would be this. If you suffer at all with gut issues, like I did, IBS, as well as, or even if it's not fully diagnosed as IBS, perhaps it's leaky gut. Any sort of gut issues, if you have any kind of food sensitivities, often those are sensitivities to plants. They tend to be. They can be to animal products as well. People do have sensitivities to some animal products. Of course, you can be allergic to eggs, you can be allergic to dairy. Some people have an allergic-like response or histamine response to, say, fish and seafood, or a full-blown allergy, of course. You can have sensitivity or an allergic-like reaction to things like poultry and pork as well. So those do exist. If you have any type of food sensitivity or intolerance, in my experience, that often means you have issues with seasonings and spices as well, because the things that give the heat, excuse me, the heat or that added zip or that little bit of extra yum factor can often come from plants that can typically cause a reaction to people who already have histamine responses to begin with. So for example, I knew because of my IBS that I cannot eat anything spicy. So no chilies, no Mexican food, no Southeast Asian food, no hot and spicy, anything, of course, of that kind. I can't even do the very simple thing of anything, even just simple black pepper sets off my IBS and causes an immediate, almost instant reaction. Garlic, I'm allergic to. I can't do even things like sauteed onions. I can't handle anything like that. I cannot do. So any kind of peppers, so nightshades, whether they're the spicy kind or not, my body does not tolerate whatsoever. In fact, I have such a high level of sensitivity that the second I have something, even just a teeny hint of garlic, makes the roof of my mouth begin to itch. And I have an immediate reaction of painful bloating, as well as just gut distress. So I stay away from all the normal known things. What I didn't realize was that some of the what we would consider the less harmful seasonings, so they're not hot, there's no spice factor. They would give you maybe a sense of warmth, if you will. The seasonings that give you that warm feeling. So like I said, when you get like roasted potatoes and they've got that I don't know what it is, salt and something else that gives it that yummy, delicious craving taste. You eat it and you just want to keep eating more. So it's whatever they add into that mix, or that you put on maybe grilled chicken breast, or that you might put on a roasted chicken, whatever gives it that delicious taste. Okay. I cannot handle either, and I found this out the hard way. Okay, so for me, for example, what happened to me was we have a local favorite donor place, and we usually get a takeaway from them every week. So, my husband will order 3 pieces of fried chicken, my son will get like a chicken donor wrap, and I will get just just the chicken donor meat, just the meat in a box. That's it. Okay, love the taste. It's fresh and it tastes amazing, and I love it. But I would always notice after, as soon as I started to eat, I started to get bloated, and I was having a bit of gut distress, but there was no hot spice on it. And the next day, it felt like my rosacea had flared up even more. And I kept thinking maybe it was something else. Maybe it was stress from the day, because it was, it's usually on a Friday, so maybe after a day of being busy at work, maybe it was just all the stress building up. Maybe I was hoping it wasn't the chicken donor meat. And again, it's not because there's anything wrong with it, but I had to admit this morning that unfortunately it's whatever they season the chicken with. Again, it's not a hot spice like having jalapenos or something like that. There's no nightshades involved, but whatever's in their seasoning mix is enough. I'm so sensitive that I can't tolerate the seasoning. So if it was just plain cooked chicken with no seasoning on it, it wouldn't bother me at all. But unfortunately, so I don't know if there's MSG or what, but I cannot eat any donor chicken meat at all, any donor meat at all, because they always put that, whatever that seasoning is, they put it everywhere you go. That's added in to give it extra flavor. And the reason why I wanted to share this, which is why my rosacea is looking a little bit worse today, is that I would suggest for people who have gut issues, food intolerances, and perhaps skin issues like me, is particularly rosacea, which really seems to respond negatively to both, yes, stress, but also to seasonings and spicy food, as well as hot beverages. Okay, some of those things you may not be able to eliminate. If you live life, there will be some degree of stress, obviously. I always let my hot drinks, like my coffee, cool down before I drink, but I'm so sensitive to any type of seasoning or spice that I have to completely avoid it fully. Even that tiny little bit amount of seasoning that came from a dried out plant that was, dried out and ground up and sprinkled on food, my body can't tolerate. So I wanted to make this video to say that yes, seasonings, spices, and sauces are allowed on Carnivore. You do what works for you, and lots of people can have things like barbecue sauce or hot sauce or mustard or salsa or whatever it is, a little bit on the side with their meat, and have no problems whatsoever. And if you're one of those people, first of all, let me say I'm a little bit jealous. Okay, I am. If you can tolerate it and you're not noticing any kind of negative reaction, then by all means, keep at it. Keep doing it. If it's working for you and you feel fantastic and your health is great, keep doing it. If you're like me, however, and you're trying to figure out why, for example, maybe your rosacea keeps flaring up, or why you're having gut issues after you've eaten certain foods, and these are foods that you've noticed these are foods perhaps that you've been also adding additional seasonings or sauces to, or spices for some people, I might suggest, if I may, that remove all the additives you possibly can. Keep it down to literally animal products, whether that's eggs, whether that's beef, butter, beef, bacon, sausages, chicken, maybe some lamb. Keep it to those products, okay, with no additional seasonings other than perhaps salt to taste. Try that for a few days, see how you feel. You may have to end up avoiding all seasoning spices and sauces if you are as sensitive to those things as I am. So I learned that the hard way. Like I said, I already knew that the hot spicy stuff, like the jalapeno, the peppers, the nightshades, I already knew I couldn't have those. I already knew things like pepper and hot spice I don't tolerate. Didn't realize that the non-spicy seasonings were also an issue. So again, if you're having problems like that as well, and you're trying to figure out what the cause might be, I would suggest if you've now you may perhaps if you're also having dairy, you may need to eliminate dairy also. But if you've done that and you're still having issues with either your gut or your skin, I would suggest that you eliminate any seasoning, sauces, or spices at that point. Give it a few days, see how you feel, because my guess is that is probably the last little thing that's causing you the issues to carry on. So, oh, and by the way, for anybody who's wondering, this is a Carcass t-shirt. It's from the Inked in Steel tour. This is an amazing, this was a great tour and a fantastic album that came out. Yes, I'm a Christian and I love Carcass. Just saying, in case you were wondering, okay? The best song off the album is Surgical Steel. Just in case you were wondering, just a little random factoid for you there. But I wanted to make this video because I know there's quite a few people who wonder if it's all right to have seasonings, spices, and sauces and be carnivore. Yes, it is. Okay, as long as you tolerate it. And again, you may not realize that you don't tolerate it until you maybe try eliminating it for a while, see what happens. That is if you're experiencing, if you already have, say, gut issues like IBS or IBD, or if you deal with things like rosacea or other histamine responses, and you're trying to figure out what the cause might be. Try removing all seasoning, spices, and sauces, although salt should be fine. See how it goes. If you are struggling with any of those things and you just want some further suggestions or feedback, as always, feel free to leave a comment down below in the comment section, or feel free to reach out to me by email at thehealingfoodscoach@gmail.com. That's it for today's video, guys. I thank you so much for your ongoing support. Wish you all the best, and I will be back soon with more content. Thanks so much. See you guys in the next one. Bye for now.